Gymnasium, one of the toughest places to play in the Pac-12, no doubt. Cameron Irwin, you felt like this was a huge advantage for you guys early on.
Absolutely, and I think it has to do with just the environment. You're flying into a very small, compact college town that is all about Washington State athletics, so they definitely come out and make sure to cheer on.
Tachikara's starting lineups for Kevin Hambly in his first season. They've been fairly consistent this year, but they're trying to do some wrinkles in the offense throughout the year. But Loretta Lutz has been the question and opposite, missed some matches early. They've been working on tempo with her, but hugely effective.
She is, and she's actually the highest in efficiency in the Pac-12 as a pin attacker. She is very effective.
Jen Greeney's 7th season, been growing Washington State this year, just a little bit off of where they have been. They have been a playoff team the last few years. Jocelyn Arias has been terrific.
She has been very, very good for them. And a lot of that just stems from the fact that they have so many middles. And you're seeing one there in Taylor Mims. She's now an outside. I say she was a middle because she was last year. And she was just so good at transitioning. And one of the things I know about Taylor Mims are her passing numbers. She hasn't passed since high school. And even then, she didn't do a ton of it. So her passing numbers, she's doing a really good job. She's at about above a 2.0 on a 3-point scale.
You might call Washington State MBU, Middle Blocker University. They have a plethora. Here's Penny Tusa with the first serve. Washington State in white, Stanford in their darks. And there is Catherine Plummer. Safe to say that she's the leader for Pac-12 Player of the Year, maybe even National Player of the Year.
And she is just so good in transition too. One of the things I love about her is that she's so good at finding the open court, not only in the cross court or in the sharp seam, but she also can turn the ball down the line.
Hitting 312 on the outside, a ridiculous number. And a serve. Washington State gets aced by Stanford. And Stanford, this is a team, we mentioned the 10 aces they gave up. They also had 14 service errors. That's 24 points against the Dogs in their last time out. And that's a match where they were just -6 on the entire match. 2 sets went 25-23 in favor of Washington. Net violation called, and back to the Cougs.
Washington State was very happy with their play last night against Cal. They won 3-0, and I talked to head coach Jen Greeney about what she was most proud of, and she said offensively they did some really good things, and that's an area where they've been struggling. They were at about, actually they're the 12th in terms of efficiency in the Pac-12, so in last place, and so last night they were hitting above 300, something that is not very commonplace for them. So if they can continue to keep that offensive rhythm going, it's going to help them tonight.
Lutz dug down the right side. In between the block, it's Mims going seam.
Mims only likes to go fast and faster, and you're going to see it right here. She was a middle, so tempo is key for her, especially pushing that ball all the way to the outside.
Taylor Mims, here's a kid whose first ever plane ride was her recruiting trip out to Pullman. Now she's been on some European programming with the U.S. national team over the summer. What a remarkable rise something volleyball can offer.
And the growth for her is only going to continue. Again, she's playing a new position this year, switching from middle to outside, also having passing and serve receive duties, which is just incredible to see her produce like she has for this Washington State team.
There's the wall, you mentioned it. Washington State quick start up by 2.
Washington State is going to try and triple block as much as they can. Here they only got the double, but they're going to try and get as many hands in front of Catherine Plummer as they can.
Claire Martin up there, 103 blocks. She's 3rd on the team out at the pin. Pulling middle blocker herself, and once again this time it's a triple block getting it done.
And this is the time that they're going to be able to triple block. It's also something Washington did against Stanford. In this rotation they have Tammy Alade, and she really only goes in front of the setter. There's not really much of a threat behind, so they're going to load up in front of the setter on that rotation.
You're going to have to serve in if you're going to utilize your blocks. The Cougs will have to ride that line all night long. How aggressive can you be with the serve without too many errors? Here comes Catherine Plummer into the back row. 32 aces on the season. Nearly gets one there. But it's Mims with a little inside slide. A net violation. Second one of the early part of this match for Stanford.
Stanford just trying to press a little bit too much up there at the net. Their main focus is trying to slow down Taylor Mims at the beginning of the match. She is one of the most offensive attackers for Washington State, so trying to get a little too aggressive on her at the beginning.
Yeah, Mims with 1,000+ attempts already and 400 kills. That's certainly more action than you ever get in the middle. And these serve reception problems continue for the Cardinal. Alex DeRigi. Will she look to Plummer again? Tried to, skipped it off the tape for another ace. 8-3, what an open for the Cougs.
That is just one of the hardest balls to try and get, because you prep for the tempo ball coming at your chest. Next thing you know, the trickler just will absolutely destroy you.
Might be the most difficult trip in the Pac-12. You have to play Washington and you have to travel out and play against Washington State. So tough on their home floor. A dream start for Jen Greeny and the Cougs.
Do you want to answer that?
Nah, I'd never with a kid in the car.
It's okay. I'm not here. I'm there.
Nice code, Dr. Pepper. Last one.
Hey, that's my Dr. Pepper. I saw it first. No, you didn't. Let go.
You let
Guys,
go. You.
Larry, what do I do?
Oh, yeah, old-fashioned crave-off. Generations of bad blood. Rivalries.
No tackles.
Don't make any sudden movements. I got just the thing. Easy. Easy. We're lucky. It usually doesn't work.
Let's go, Dr. Pepper. Here. Let's go.
Next Saturday, Arizona State meets Oregon State in Corvallis. Then get ready for another matchup from the Conference of Champions. Coverage begins at 11 with the pregame show.
Washington State and Butch T. Cougar fired up in the first set. They lead by 5. What's the T for, Cameron Irwin?
The
Butch the Cougar.
I like how you quiz me when I was the one actually quizzing you on that.
You didn't know I knew the answer, did you?
No, I'm very impressed that you did, though.
Pullman, one of my favorite places to go in the Pac-12. The university, the town, intertwined. Look at Jen Greeny, what she's done with that program. Kevin Hambley trying to maintain the excellence of Stanford, taking over the national champion a year ago, and the walk-off into the sunset by John Dunning. Working on Plummer down the line, excellent position. DeRigi with a beautiful bump set, and Mims cleans it up on the outside. The run continues for Washington State.
You know, it's kind of interesting taking a look at the defense. You're going to see Catherine Plummer take a step up to dig that ball. When you have a block that is that large, Moretta Lutz standing in front, it's almost like you want to take a step backwards if it is closed to be able to pick up the touches off the top of the block.
Lutz put back right in her face. 10-3 Stanford, completely off balance. Is this a hangover from Wednesday?
You know, I think it's probably a little bit of that. I'm sure it's in the back of their mind, but I think it's more about the serve-receive game for them. They've got to be able to get in system so that they can run their offense. And right now they're in some rotations that are a little bit challenging. They've got Megan McClure up. She isn't as dominant as Catherine Plummer, and the numbers are going to tell you that. But then you also have Tammy Alade and Moretta Lutz, who are your primary attackers. So Washington State is just kind of doing a nice job of shifting their block in front of those two attackers.
One of the toughest places to play. Washington State plays well inside Bohler Gymnasium. Excellent atmosphere always. Lutz again blocked. Forced into a tip. DeRigi's been doing a terrific job in the left back, but a misconnection in the middle shuts down that service rotation.
Well, and that's something Jen Greeny had talked to us about. Penny Tusa has been doing a lot of work for this Washington State team. She's been asked not only to set, but McKenna Woodford has been dealing with an injury. So she's also been taking some swings. So she's been taking hits and then having to switch back to setting and then going back to front row and asked to block as well. So she's really had to focus on getting her tempo back with the middles.
Tusa, perfect tempo, hence with the dig. Roll shot, and the Littles doing some work. Middle connection was there that time.
Nice job by Jocelyn Urias to get off the net. And a great dig from Olivia Cole allows for that transition to happen. And Urias just 2 quick steps off the net and back on. Nice job from a middle attack.
Urias hitting well, back row performing. Olivia Cole there patrolling the middle back right now. Blocked again. They are all over Lutz on the right. Mims cross court, and it's good. 13-4. How unexpected is this for you?
I mean, I am very, very surprised. I really thought Stanford was going to come in with just a huge chip on their shoulder from the Washington game, and right now it's just not happening.
It's more like a monkey than a chip. Oh, miscommunication for Stanford. Can the Cougs take advantage? The set over. And the kill back in the middle. Starting to feel the flow as Ashley Brown steps in. Nearly had to kill herself.
And Ashley Brown actually has 30 kills on the year. She is one of the most offensive setters, which is so interesting because they run a 6-2 offense, which means she is dumping out of the back row. And there are limitations that come with that. You're not able to attack above the height of the net. So she is so deceptive and does what we call kind of the 8th grade dump. She'll dump with 2 hands, stay below the plane, jump just enough to still look like she's going to set to one of her attackers, and finds the floor on the other side.
Here's the wild thing. Stanford's already used both of their timeouts. They burned them here. Kevin Hambley, a passenger from this point forward. Mentioned the postseason implications for this match as you watch Moretta Lutz doing a lot of talking there. Postseason resume, well, it all comes down to RPI, people will tell you. And the RPI right now, 46. That's just outside of where you need to be. The cutoff has been around that 44, 43 mark. The occasional aberration, somebody getting in as an at-large selection further out. Key wins, you might want to add one more before the end of this year.
Well, and they're definitely going to need one. I mean, they're on what's called the bubble, and you're going to need some big RPI wins to secure yourself. So in order to make sure they're there, this win is going to really boost them if it actually takes place.
Yeah, we're a long ways from that, but they certainly have started in a dream fashion. Coach T. Cougar and the students fired up with this 14-4, a 10-point lead for Washington State, who comes in at 3-11. Pardon me, yeah, 4-11 in conference. After their victory over Cal, as you take a look at the hitting here, Kevin Hambley, still a lot of talking in that huddle.
Well, and you take a look at that hitting percentage, -211. I mean, that is just outrageous to see from Stanford. They're usually above 300 as a team. So they also have, I mean, their middle attackers are typically over 350.
Yeah, if you look at the Cardinal on the year, they hit 317 as a team. That leads the conference, and they hold their opponents to 174, which also leads the conference. Touch, Tusa with the right hand. Oh, and Mims could taste that last kill, trying to go sharper cross court.
Trying to find just the inside hands when you've got a block that big in front of you. You got to make sure you're trying, even if there's a solid block, you got to try and just keep it in the court unless there is a seam.
This serve. Stanford, we talk about the way that they have played. They have 136 aces on the season. That also leads the Pac-12. They've only allowed 68, and that's having given up 10 in their last. They had an even bigger spread coming in.
Well, and there was so much conversation after last year when they won. You know, what was, without Inky Ajanaku, what was this team going to look like? And obviously they still had so many great pieces. But one of the things I think that they improved upon the most is their service game. They have just brought so much pressure from the back line.
Look at Jen Greeny. What she and Burdette Greeny have done with this program is outstanding. Grown it back to the powerhouse that it was, the perennial playoff contender that it was when Jen Stinson, now Greeny, played for the Cougs. Backslide is good. Stanford trying to settle in, but still that 10-point lead for the Cougs is going to be hard to overcome at this point in a set.
And Fitzmaurice, you're going to see her throughout the night continue to go on that slide, especially in that rotation. That's one of her favorite attacks. And she also tends to run it inside and outside. It's kind of one of those offensive wrinkles that they've added in.
Continuing to give away points. And you mentioned the mental side of things when we were chatting earlier about the setting game. That plays into the serving game as well when you've been missing a lot of serves. And all of a sudden you're just thinking, I need to put this ball in. No way to go about that skill. Arias, the sophomore. Oh, she misses, and the Cougs now. Would you get more conservative with your serving right now, the way this first set has gone?
I mean, actually, well, who are we referring to? Stanford or Washington State? No, I would go at them. I would go at Stanford because you have to. This is not, Stanford is not a team that you're ever going to let up on. You're going to have to play 100% as aggressive as you can every single play.
Mims hitting aggressively in this first set. Nearly picked up the back row kill there. Free ball. Up tight in the middle has been working for the Cougs. Leosh, number 18, the junior.
And on the quick back set, and Leosh is so good off of 1 foot. So they're going to try and find her on what's called an A ball, the ball right behind the setter's head. And also she'll be taking some swings on the slide. But that was a big missed opportunity for Stanford because in that rotation, it was Catherine Plummer against Penny Tusa. And why that's such a big mismatch? Well, Penny Tusa is nowhere near the height of Catherine Plummer, so she had to try and block her.
5'8" versus 6'6".
Yeah, it's not even close.
It's like me hitting over you.
It would never happen.
Actually, it has never happened. You can just say that. You've never hit over me. That's true. I've never done that. Backslide tip. It was a lot of heat earlier. This time it's a little bit of craft from Leosh, who her head coach said was kind of stuck last year behind Claire and Taylor.
And this is kind of one of the things they've changed up a little bit of their rotation. So Claire Martin, who was a middle, she's also playing in the right side in some of their rotations, but that time she's playing in the middle. So Ella Lehosh has the opportunity to go to on the slide more frequently as the right side attacker.
Stanford, and the connection for Stanford in the middle, conversely, is just totally off. That miss from Awade. She hits 451, and that number's been rising in Pac-12 play. Coming into this week, we've seen her miss a couple of times wide already.
She leads the Pac-12 in hitting efficiency.
She's not leading this match in hitting efficiency right now. 20-9. I don't think too many people would have been surprised if you reversed the scores here in the first set. It wouldn't have been a shocker. Washington State has made plays. Boy, Stanford has the yips from the service line.
Kevin, I am somewhat shocked right now. I can't believe the number of errors I'm seeing from the Stanford side. They're definitely going to have to hit the reset button.
Yeah, you might want to blow on the cartridge and hit the reset button, hold it down so you get that gray screen. Hope for the best. Yeah, Kevin Hambley, he's had better weeks than this one. It was 4 sets against Washington, Stanford's defeat going back to Wednesday. They lost 2 25-23 sets in that one. This set not nearly that close. Into the middle and hoping for just a little bit of rhythm on the Cardinal.
Alade getting a nice swing finally out of the middle. It's taken a little bit, but one of the things, she runs such a quick tempo out of the middle, they have to make sure that they have a pass to be able to run her. And that time they finally got the pass all the way up to the net.
Martin is stopped. Stanford picks up a block.
So at this point, it's really about building momentum. And Stanford's block, wow, that was really well formed, perfectly timed, but they need a few more of those. They may not win this set if you take a look at the score. However, they can use the last few points of the set to really gain some momentum for that second one. Change the environment on your side of the court.
Down the line, it's another point for the Cardinal. They're climbing here with a little run of their own. Still down by 10. That's been the story through this first set. Kevin Barnett, pleasure to bring you this match alongside Cameron Irwin. Watch Washington State get off to a quick start, and it's been a lot of Taylor Mims on the left.
It has been a lot of Taylor Mims on the left side. She does a really nice job of being so explosive and quick off of the ground. So she kind of has this slow and then a steady step and then very explosive, and that's hard as a blocker to go up against her.
Taylor Mims, 5 kills, hitting .400. More defense too. Derigi has been ever present. Off the hands, out of bounds. Point Cardinal.
And that's what Megan McClure is going to need to really, really focus on. But check out this dig from Derigi. That's what I was talking about earlier, trying to take that step backwards in defense if there's a close block in front of you to be able to pick up the shot off the top of the block.
Mims, nice high swing. She'll get another. This one tight and inside. She closes and crushes.
Finding the hands of the block, and that's something I was just talking about Megan McClure is really going to have to do. When you're a little bit of an undersized, and by undersized that could even just be 6 foot when you're playing in the Pac-12. If you're undersized, you've got to be able to find hands to score some points when the blocks close in front of you.
So set point 1 goes by for Washington State. They will have an offensive opportunity here to close out this first set against the Cardinal in decisive fashion. Stanford all over the roll shot. For the set, Mims. Stanford finally generates a swing. You think they need a little more back row attack?
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. I think back row attack for Stanford is going to be very critical, especially moving into the postseason, because the teams are going to have such a good scouting report on them. They're going to have to be able to bring some heat from the backcourt.
Third opportunity to close. But it is the Stanford block that closes on that quick attack, and we'll have a 4th set point. 24-16. Still lots of room. Burdette Greeny up off the bench. Where does the ball go for this set? Tip saved. Stanford grabbing the momentum you spoke of, Cameron.
Yeah, they are, and that's a huge missed opportunity from Washington State. They had a free ball opportunity, which means an easy ball's coming over the net. And unlike Washington State, Stanford was able to capitalize on their opportunity.
5th set point here in the first. Stanford got a hold of another one. Plummer puts it away. 6th set point upcoming. Do you call a timeout? Yes, Jen Greeny answers.
Yeah, I think it's a good time for a timeout. You just kind of have to hit that reset button, come up with a game plan, see what blockers are in front of each attacker, and figure out where to go from here. And so what you're seeing, you're going to have Catherine Plummer in front. This is rotation 5 for Stanford, so that is their strongest rotation. It's kind of a spread offense. They've got Plummer on the outside, and then they'll run Fitzmaurice constantly behind, and that really spaces out the blockers of Washington State.
What's the importance of this match? You just mentioned spacing out, people trying to space out in the standings inside the Pac-12. It was tight. After last week, you had 2 matches separating 2nd on down to 7th spot. USC with a little bit of clarity here. They are currently in control of that number 2 position. Washington picked up that big victory, but it is still a log jam behind, and you start to wonder how many teams are getting in the tournament.
You do, and it's so interesting. You take a look at kind of who's where, and I mean, I don't remember the last time I've seen UCLA sitting down at that 6th spot, and it's not to say that they're in a 6th position, but that's just how close those teams are from 2 to 7. I mean, the 1 to 2 games of difference is just absolutely insane.
Just got a note from Don Shaw, former head coach of the Stanford Cardinal. He's tuning in. One of our Pac-12 co-workers here. Good of you to tune in as well and enjoy some Pac-12 volleyball. The best conference in the nation, the toughest conference in the nation. If you look at the RPI, this is the top-rated conference, no doubt, the Conference of Champions. Stanford are the defending champions. Playing like it in the last few points. Plummer again, and it's off the block for another point. 7 set points. It's a good thing for Jen Greeny and the Cougs. They had this giant lead.
So typically in this rotation, you're going to have Casey Shane line blocking and attacking from the outside. They've actually switched her over to the right, put Penny Tusa on the left, and that's so that they're able to try and put up a bigger block against Plummer.
Another tip. Plummer again. Oh, bad set saved. And finally one scudded out of bounds. It wasn't easy. 7 set points in order to close it out. 25-19 for Washington State. Stanford's struggles continue. But have they grabbed enough at the end of that first set to carry it to the second? You will find out.
You're watching Pac-12 Bay Area, home of the Cal Bears and the Stanford Cardinal. Available on Xfinity.
Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O. And on this farm he had some chicks, E-I-E-I-O. With a tick, tick here and a tick, tick there. Here a tick, there a tick, everywhere a tick, tick. Old MacDonald.
If old MacDonald had a farm today, he'd have a Coyote tractor on it for sure. Test drive one at your local Coyote dealer.
Sunday. It's known for being one of the toughest sports in the world, and the best of the West are ready to give it everything they've got. Can Russell Webb and the Bears stay golden? The Pac-12 Rugby Sevens Championship. Live coverage begins Sunday at 10 on Pac-12 Network.
For over a century, the Pac-12 has been a catalyst for collective excellence, an extraordinary blend of 12 unique universities. Combined, we elevate team chemistry to an art form as future leaders and global game changers. Pac-12, the Conference of Champions.
Sunday, hoop season is upon us. First at 1, the Golden Bears get ready to say nay to the Mustangs. Then at 3, Alonzo Trier and the Wildcats prep for a dogfight when Arizona plays host to UMBC. And at 5, can the Huskies send the Eagles into extinction? Then finish off the day with a trip to the farm, where the trees stick to their roots when they take on the Tigers. Pac-12 men's basketball, presented by ZipRecruiter. Coverage begins Sunday at 1 on Pac-12 Network.
Yo, check it out, dog. That was just all right for me. I mean, you got the walk, you got the stance, but I wasn't really feeling it. You know what? I'm not buying this. You gotta come a little harder, dog. You gotta figure it out. I don't know. Shaky on the walk, carriage was off.
Randy Jackson judging a dog show?
I don't know, dog.
Surprising. What's not surprising? How much money Lisa saved by switching to Geico.
Oh, wow. Performance of the night.
15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Veterans Day weekend opportunity for you to show your appreciation for the U.S. Armed Forces. Lots of people trying to do that across the United States, and certainly a part of the Washington State culture as well. And Taylor Mims, this first set, showing her appreciation for this opportunity.
She is finding the high seam and the high hands of the Stanford block consistently, and then she's also bringing it in the terms of block. She's doing a lot of work. She's already got 5 kills on 12 attempts, hitting 333 in that first set.
Numbers for Washington State definitely coming down at the end of the set. It was 7 set points in order to close out that first. How heavy does that play on a team in the beginning of the next set? Does it really carry over?
I think it absolutely carries over. They were able to get a little bit more rhythm, especially at the end there. I mean, 7 set points. That shows a little bit more battle and fight from that Stanford team. I think they have to continue to add from their own service pressure and then also be able to pass consistently to be able to get their middles going. I think, you know, Alade in the middle really kind of struggled at the beginning, got a few good swings late, and then Catherine Plummer really stepped up, but they've got to be able to do that from the beginning of each set.
Alade is in negative territory, 1 kill hitting negative 250, but in terms of distribution, Catherine Plummer again carrying the day. She and McClure have the most, but it's Plummer with 16. McClure has the next most at 10. So Stanford facing a 1-0 deficit. An over violation called that time goes against Casey Shaneline.
Casey Shaneline just getting a little too aggressive. It's hard when you see that tight pass. You want to be able to go up and put that ball away, but that time you just can't go over and attack the setter at the same time.
Shaneline out on the left as that service missed. That's the 4th service error for Stanford. Shaneline, tri-captain last year on this team, captain again this season, number 21 in her senior year. Actually spent some time out due to a collision earlier. And Olivia Cole, who spent a lot of time in the back row this year, out of Vancouver, Washington, back in. Washington State going to the Littles, and the Littles letting fly.
Vancouver, Washington, which was my home. It's always fun when you get to see some Pacific Northwest connections continuing.
You have to cheer for your hometown, no doubt. Love it when we get some players out of Naperville, Illinois. A challenge happening here that the ball was in rather than out. And this is what you can challenge: ball contact, and that is with players or perhaps with the net. You can also challenge net contact, ball in or out, and some foot faults. You get 3 challenges per match, and that's it. Doesn't matter if you're right or wrong. Stanford has burned 1, and they'll look at the same feed you're looking at. That looks like it's in the red from that angle. What do you think here, Cameron?
See, from that angle, it looks a little in. It's hard to tell. That first one might have been your best look. But it's also important to note in volleyball, if any part of the ball touches the line, it's considered in.
If you followed international play this summer or the summer before, you saw the compression of the ball with the Hawkeye system, which has been in use in tennis for so many years, played a huge role. And indications are it will stay with Washington State.
And that's an early challenge, especially in this set. I mean, 1 to 2 in terms of points. Usually a lot of people will wonder, well, wouldn't you want to save those for those really critical moments? But I think this is a really critical moment for Stanford, especially coming back after that first set and really starting to gain some momentum and energy.
That was our second referee, Ron Pelham, down with the review. He and Jason Olson, who is the R1, up on the stand with the call tonight. More service errors from the defending champs.
Stanford has got to clean up the little things, because that's what's killing them right now. It's the little service errors, the passes not getting exactly to the net, being a little out of system more than they're used to.
Long set to left, Origi digging in, continuing to play in that left back. Out of the ceiling is good, as long as it stays on your side. And I'm a big fan of that rule. We've gone back and forth with that throughout the years. And Mims with another miss into the angle. But Mims likes that angle on the left.
She does, and I think it's in part because she's so used to going up as a middle, and that was her strong shot, the shot right in front of her. She's been working on developing that line shot, and she has. I've watched a lot of film on her recently, and she's gotten better as the season's gone on. But it still needs to continue if the ball has to be all the way pushed out for her to be able to turn that ball back down the line.
6th service error for Stanford. Huge swing and another block. The wall of Cougars.
And I think Penny Tusa got a little bit of hands on that. Or Jocelyn Arias really closing it up there in the middle.
I don't think you can take that one away from Arias.
No.
Going the other way, and that was straight OT by Moretta Lutz.
She just hits the ball at such a high point. I mean, It's going to be so hard as a block. You want to constantly focus on getting your hands pressed over the net, but when you're playing against a player like Moretta that's touching so high, you're going to have so much of a tendency to try and reach for that ball. And I'm not sure it wouldn't be a bad idea from time to time.
Moretta Lutz, a converted middle blocker herself in that opposite position. She'll get the ball once again. Mims, a net violation. We've seen several of those from Stanford in the first set. Washington State 6-4, squarely keeping the pressure on the Cardinal.
Yeah, just getting a little off balance at the net is Megan McClure. It's interesting, though. I mean, these are the rotations for Washington State where Stanford could have just a field day in terms of offense because they've got Penny Tusa up at the top. But they've got McClure against Tusa. Now, if that were Catherine Plummer, we might be talking a little bit of a different story.
Left-handed tip for Shane Line. And that was discussed with Jen Greeny. She talked about the matchups. They were trying to get Claire Martin out there on Plummer. So you mentioned even before when we were chatting about Washington State how they move around their personnel, and they've gotten some of the matchups they were hoping for.
And it'll be interesting to see at the beginning of each set where all of them start in terms of rotation.
That ball looked like it was up. Right, we see a challenge here from Jen Greeny. We've seen the challenge system used. As they're calling net violation.
Yeah, it's right off her foot.
Yeah, and there was no net violation there.
No.
Yeah, I've seen the challenge system used to challenge up or down off the floor all season long.
They could have absolutely used it there.
Overpass. DeRiggi saves it. Oh, that one up into the rafters once again. One of the things that makes Bohler unique, it is a smaller, lower ceiling than other places. Roll shot. Unable to be returned.
And you can check it out and right back. That ball absolutely right off the top of her foot. And that is legal in volleyball. You can use any part of your body to get the ball up.
As long as you don't lift it, if you don't hold it and throw it, as the service game of Stanford continues to have its struggles. 7 service errors to just 3 for Washington State, each team with an ace.
And they had 14 in 4 sets. Now they're already up to 7, and we haven't even made it through, halfway through this first one.
Serving's been a question for Formica, who missed that last one. That's been an ongoing storyline. There's a little bit of pop on the left. That's what you've been looking for.
I have. I want to see McClure go up and start to change up her shots a little bit, find the sharp angle, not just look for the seam in the block. That time she was able to power through, but going down the line, she is going to have to go against a big block, especially in the postseason. So for her to have the ability to move the ball around is going to be critical.
Washington State goes back to the middle once again with success. They've had a lot of it in the middle. Leosh with the kill, and she is 3 for 3.
And a little bit of a different set. That's called a 3-ball. It's pushed a little further from the setter, trying to find the gap in between the blockers, and that's exactly what happened there.
7 kills on 11 attempts out of the middle for the Cougs. OT Plummer. Yeah, the whole Cougar side saying that ball was out. No, that ball was over and in.
And Catherine Plummer is so good at that, just like Moretta Lutz. Because she contacts the ball at such a high point, she has the ability to hit over the top of the block. Now, what that does to a defense, that's a whole nother story. Typically, you want to line up your defenders, those in the backcourt, on the outside of the block, on the exterior, the shoulders of the blockers. But when you're playing against someone like Catherine Plummer, you don't know where to go because she will go right over the top of the block, which that area is supposed to be covered.
Well, make sure you're underneath when she tips it. Washington State picked it up. Mims fires out of the back row. Oh, there's be a lift on that second contact. Quickly called. You can't grab it in a sticky fashion.
No, but Washington State's getting a lot of those kind of bang-bang plays. And you're going to see a lot of fight from that Washington State team, especially after winning that first set.
Plummer slaps it up in the block, resets. Second time is sent home. The wall of Cougars, you talked about it to start and said they were missing some bricks. Well, they might have replaced them by now. Already 5 blocks.
Well, and that's what Washington State, they're missing some of those bricks, but they're moving them around in a really good fashion to go up against some of the Stanford attackers.
That one did not clear the tape. And again, it's Washington State, the aggressor. 11-9 here in the second. They took the first 25-19.
Stanford leaving in Moretta Lutz in this rotation in the backcourt, trying to find a little bit more offense out of the back row.
Stanford already with 11 errors. In the attack phase of the game, there was nothing wrong with that swing. You'll be seeing that on the international level after her time at Stanford for Catherine Plummer.
Well, and that's exactly, Moretta Lutz did have the hitting error in the last play, but them going to her opens things up a little bit more for Catherine Plummer on the outside. Just the threat of her on the backside moves the block around.
Martin from way off the net. Oh, pardon me, Taylor Mims. The M&Ms on the pin.
And that's one thing Taylor has really had to focus on. Not only her serve receive this year, but also the out-of-system play. Because she likes to go so fast as a former middle, the high ball, being patient and waiting for those out-of-system balls has been a little bit of a struggle, but she's continued to get better at it.
Well, Mims last year led with a .303 hitting percentage. She was all Pac-12 honorable mention as a middle blocker. This year, she came into the weekend hitting .154 on that pin, and it has been, as you said, the out-of-system. When everything's perfect, Mims has been on. She manages an opportunity here. Smartly done. Another good touch by the Cougar block. But right back comes Stanford. And boy, Stanford sometimes, we haven't seen it in this match, but I've seen them earlier this year. You just see swing after swing in a rally, and they eventually wear you down because they have so much heat around the dial.
They do, and that's what makes them so good. It's not just, yeah, Catherine Plummer is phenomenal, and she has such an ability to put a ball away. However, what makes this team so good is that they have the cast to support her. They've got Fitzmaurice in the middle. They have Olade in the middle to be able to put the ball away, and then Lutz also.
Yeah, they don't have Lutz right now, though. The Cougar block is all over Moretta Lutz.
Really nice job sealing off the top of the net there by both Urias and Mims.
Fun when you see a middle blocker move to the pin. Usually it means exceptional blocking on the outside. A serve off of Plummer in that right back spot.
Yeah, I mentioned it early. She has had in the last now 2 matches a little bit of a harder time in that right back corner. Washington was actually coming down the line at her. Tia Scambray specifically has a really nice line-to-line serve, but this time Washington State came from the opposite angle.
Washington State coming with some defense and quick transition. Look at Mims manage the outside. Washington State already up 1-0. They lead in the second. Wild Cougars all over the place.
We try to focus on each day, gauge your performance by whether it's the best of your ability.
It's a great day of preparation.
The route is not about celebration. The rise is not about reaching the top. We're here to captivate, to fascinate,
Coast to coast.
to dominate. Our physics are physical. Our gravity has gravitas. So follow the bouncing ball, because these West Coast routes will rise above them all. Watch on Pac-12 networks.
It is the best analysis in the business.
For me, it's a blast to watch.
You have to understand what you're doing.
You kind of got to get punched in the gut sometimes.
Sharpening that sword.
Protections, line of scrimmage.
I feel like we're pretty good at bouncing back.
Can they really get it done defensively?
Well, gee, I don't know.
You look refreshed.
What was the main reason there for doing it now?
The what now? 2 rushing touchdowns, 2 passing touchdowns.
Yeah, that's been mentioned.
Oh, baloney.
It is certainly a mess.
We already know that. Real.
Sorry about that.
Could use that for a promo.
You're watching Pac-12 Bay Area.
If you just tuned in to Pac-12 Volleyball presented by Tachikara, do not adjust your LCD screen. It is, in fact, 15-12 Washington State, and they do lead 1-0 over the Stanford Cardinal. It's been a myriad of errors and issues for the Cardinal.
It has, and it starts from the service line. They've missed several already, and that's just free points given to Washington State. And it also kind of just shifts your momentum. As soon as you earn a point, next thing you know, you gave one away.
Stanford Cardinal gave away 24 points against Washington back on Wednesday, just in the service game alone. Forget the attacking side of things. Right now, Catherine Plummer continues to struggle. She passes that ball well, but her hitting numbers have sunk below the 50 mark, and that's not 500. 50, the 50 mark.
And I'm not sure the last time that has been the case, because even against Washington, she still had 26 kills on the night.
Yeah, Catherine Plummer still had an outstanding night. Hit 438 in that match, as a matter of fact. Look at Mims. Moved around back in the middle where she's comfortable for a little two action.
And Washington State has been doing a lot of this, especially recently. They've really been moving their attackers around, trying to get almost a triple quick going in some of their rotations, because Mims is so good on the quick ball, and along with her is Casey Shaneline, who is also good at a quick ball in the interior. So they're going to bring a lot of pressure very quick on the inside of the court.
Burdette Greeny calling for the changeup, the former pitcher at Washington State. Jen and Burdette Greeny, a big deal there in Pullman. Honored at the Lentil Festival last year. An outstanding opportunity. If you ever get to go to Pullman, do it during the Lentil Festival. Mims can't handle that one in the middle back.
And Stanford is very close to being where they want to be in terms of offense and serve receive. They've got 1-2 comparatively to the first set. The first set, they had a lot more issues in serve receive. Now they're starting to get that serve receive going a little bit more.
Well, neither team hitting that effectively. There's another block for the Cardinal, and will be knotted at 16. This second set has been an offensive struggle for both sides. Washington State checking in at 217 and going down to 197 with that last swing. And it's 143 for the Cardinal. Ooh, that ball way outside. But dealing with it is Tusa, a kinesiology major out of Long Beach, where she played for Mackenzie Joy Furbringer's club, Mizuna Long Beach, one of the heralded clubs in Los Angeles.
That was almost behind the backside of her head, actually, with the little roll shot pushed all the way past the antenna. It's a hard angle to attack from. You just have to take care of the ball, and that's what she did there.
Long Beach Poly standout, all league 4 years in a row. That's the Moore League for those that don't follow the Jackrabbits closely.
Urias missing a serve out the side. She's actually the toughest server for Washington State in terms of aces per set.
Stanford repays the favor. 8 errors now for the Cardinal on 1 ace. Crunch time now for Washington State. Remember, it took them 7 set points to close out the first. They do not have that kind of cushion. Deep corner by Tusa. Oh, quick reactions, but not quick enough for Tusa, who gets one in the noggin.
Well, that's always hard too when you're not actually the one that tried to dig the ball. Oh, that's just unlucky.
It's almost like a right hook coming into your left chin. Down the line, did it catch anyone? It did not. Stanford 19-18. Would you call a timeout right now if you're Jen Greeny?
It's the first time I feel like Stanford has had the lead, so I would maybe give one more, and that's about it.
Greeny lets it ride. Shaneline on the left. But it's the back slide, just long.
That one's looking really close, and it looks like Jen Greeny is going to challenge that call.
Ron Pellin and Jen Greeny.
I believe they're going to challenge whether there was a touch off the block.
Now we have a net touch officially being recorded here, so Ron Pellin will go over and check out the monitor. I don't see a contact there.
Not either. One of the ways you can kind of take a look. Now, I'm not sure if they were, it says net challenge, but I have a feeling they're actually trying to see if Catherine Plummer was touching that off the block. And one of the ways, yeah, it looks like all the student athletes are saying no, it touched her hand. They're giving kind of the fingers rubbing together, and that's typically meaning they're looking for that touch.
That's not the Johnny Manziel money.
No.
This is
you
touched the ball and it did not get called.
Yeah, absolutely. So they're taking a look at that. One of the ways you can kind of tell if there was a touch is not only to see if there was finger movement, but also did the spin of the ball change? Was there a change in direction?
Flight path. We'll slow it down.
Oh, it is
so hard to
tell.
Now, it can be inconclusive as well in the challenge system. They can just say we could not tell, and it stays with the original call.
But great job by our Pac-12 crew on showing us every angle that we could pretty much get.
Longest challenge last year, 8.5 minutes.
Whew.
We're at about 3 here.
That's a timeout. It's more than a timeout.
Indeed, both teams still with their full complement here at 20-18. You have to believe that some of them are going to get burned, but you're right, this has functioned as a de facto timeout. Decision is that it was inconclusive. Get the slice across the chest there, and it is inconclusive. Stay with the original call. Ball is out. Stanford point, 20-18. Now do you call a timeout on top of it?
I think you wait. I think you see if this one is going to make Washington State a little bit more aggressive. And you see it right there from Casey Shaneline just going after that block. And that's what, even if you don't get the point from the challenge, they can serve as a very nice timeout.
We've seen coaches use it that way internationally as well as in NCAA play. Shaneline, after that kill, will leave. Olivia Cole in. Hugely important serve for the Cougs. Do they try and find Plummer? They get to McClure. And Alade gets just enough over the top. Stanford maintains an advantage that would give them the set if no one scores a point on their serve. 21-19. Remember, we were back tied late in this set. Mims outside, touched, hence. Mims inside, but again it's DeRigi. It's worth pointing out the play of the libero. DeRigi now 9 digs.
And what a set from Penny Tusa, sprinting all the way across the court, maintaining composure, taking a breath before setting that ball.
Oh, a long set to the left to Lutz.
And this is what makes Stanford so good and so scary. In that last rotation, who do you go to? Do you go to block Lutz or Alade or Plummer? I mean, there's not really a good option.
Deep serve, DeRigi pops it up just enough, but Mims being asked to do a lot here. Mims again. Off the bump set is stuffed straight down. Alade.
And I love the energy from Alade. You're going to see her get up, get her hands quickly over the net, get the stuff block, and blocking is one of the biggest momentum builders. And she's doing a really nice job of getting that block coming down and then giving everything she's got to her team in terms of energy.
Timeout's been called now by Washington State. Gives us an opportunity to let you know that after the second set, during the intermission, we will have a little entertainment for you. Of course, it's been a busy football weekend. Highlights abound with Ashley Adamson in studio. And also some women's soccer happening as they start to tilt towards the postseason. So much going on this time of year now with basketball underway as of last night. What an incredible time to be a sports fan and a fan of the Conference of Champions. What do you do right now if you're Washington State?
You have to make sure that you get a pass and then stay in system, trying to make sure that you're diversifying that offense and moving that Stanford block, keeping them honest. You take a look, that's kind of the story of the second set. The 0-69 from Washington State is definitely a change up from that first set. And then Stanford really pulling that hitting efficiency back up. They've really picked up their game.
Cardinal trying to get their feet back under them after a rough first set in which they trailed by 10 for the majority of the set. It was 14-4, and Kevin Hambley burned his second timeout of the set. As you look at Alexis Derigi, who has had an outstanding portion of the success for Washington State thus far.
And now it's important to note you have Catherine Plummer in the back court. And when she's in the back court, their side out percentage and first ball side out decreases on average in the last 5 games anywhere from 10 to 15%.
Mims dug by Plummer up on top of the net. Joust goes for the Cougs. Smartly done to the right side by Urias.
Stanford needs to make sure they aren't trying to be perfect, just good. They need to make sure the ball is not getting all the way up to the top.
Plummer's in that right back that you pointed out, Shearer. She's been struggling. Cole trying to hit her. And cutting her off his hands, all kinds of confusion. McClure with the rip. That's on top of the tape, and now it's a point for the Cougars.
And again, this is the rotation. Plummer in the back row, in that right back corner. She really, the last 2 games, has really struggled with that.
How about Jen Greeny? How about the energy right there?
She's loving it.
23-20. Stanford has the lead, but it does not feel like it.
No, and I mean, Washington State has really been in control just in so many different areas because Stanford has made so many errors.
How fired up is Jen Greeny, one of the all-time greats in program history as a player. Watching Mims go good night now on that ball. Kevin Hambley.
Calling the timeout immediately afterwards.
He's subdued. Jen Greeny fired up. Shannon Hunt in her 7th season there to the left as well. It's been a consistent staff for Jen Greeny over the past 5 years.
It has, and you know what's also fun to note is that Jen Greeny played with Shannon Hunt back at Washington State when this team was very, very good.
Sarah Silvernail, another member of those good Washington State teams. Those great Washington State teams sent some players to the national team programming, including Jen Stinson. Now Greeny came to the national team back in the late 90s.
Shannon Hunt does a lot of work with Washington State's defense. She was also a member of the 1,000 kills, 1,000 digs. She was one of the first, actually. And so she works specifically with Washington State's defense and kind of outsides and being really tricky. She was a bit of an undersized outside herself.
Hence with the pass. O.T. Derigi with the dig. Up on top of the tape. Oh, off the head of Alade. Mims, another kill. 12 for Taylor Mims. We are tied at 23.
Washington State finding the deep court. Stanford is really starting to sneak in on their defense, expecting that ball to be tipped or rolled off the top of the block, but Mims finding the deep corner.
23 up. Remember, Stanford lost 2 sets, 25-23 to Washington. Not this time. We will have a set point for Stanford as Alade strikes that one with success. Hence with the serve. Good pass. Mims through the block. Overtime.
It's also important to note Cameron Antoine Dillon has also entered the match as a middle blocker for Washington State. Just a little bit of a different vibe, a different look for Washington State out of the middle attack.
No, they can throw so much at you. Big middle blockers. That's what Washington State has. Touch, dig, backslide. It's in.
And And that is why they put Cameron Antoine Dillon into the match. By filling that gap in the middle of the court, they were able to shift over Jocelyn Urias to maintain that slide attack as a right side attacker.
Mims for the 2-0 lead on the defending champs, the #1 team in the conference. Mims with the dig. Ball on top of the net once again. And it goes Stanford's way. Boy, if you could have gotten a hold of it. Just looking to see where Gray was located. Jenna Gray, I think, was in the back row. We're tied at 25.
If Jenna Gray is in the back row, that's what they're going to discuss too. If Jenna Gray's in the back row, she can only maintain the ball as long as she stays on her own side of the net by setting it. That one was a little close.
Got to get up and get a piece of that. Backslide, block is there, Hence with the dig. Backslide the other way, and it's a souvenir.
I love the decision there by Jenna Gray and Fitzmaurice to make sure Fitzmaurice is going all the way to the pin. They have been doing what's kind of called a B-ball, a little bit of a slide that's inside. However, that time they maintained the tempo all the way to the pin, really spread out Washington State's block and got that one-on-one opportunity in a out-of-system transition play.
Stanford has their second set point. Washington State calls their second timeout. RPI, strength of schedule, much the topic of discussion. And this is how it plays out right now for this conference. Washington State in there at 42, Stanford in at 7. Pac-12 looking to put, at this point, you'd have to figure that everyone is in, maybe Washington State, but you're talking about 9 teams.
And this one, I mean, Kevin, how much do you actually think this, if they win this, how much could this improve? No, I mean, because it's all, and we have to describe what the RPI is. It's a statistical analysis. If you take a look at it, you add up all the numbers of not only your record, your win-loss, but also your opponent's win-loss record and strength of schedule. There's so much that goes into it. So it's really hard to know how each one is going to specifically affect.
Lots of people don't like the RPI. One of the effects of the RPI being such a big factor has been early season matchups between top teams. I think that's been a terrific one. Kevin Hambley had Penn State twice this year, which were their only 2 losses leading into that Washington loss this week. Here we go. Set point number 2. Stanford fought off one that Washington State had. Can Washington State fight off this second opportunity for the Cardinal? DeRiggi fights off that serve. Mims again through the block and down. We've seen 2 of those. Trickler waterfalls.
Well, and that one's out of the back row too. Stanford's block going up. They press nice and early, but when it's a back row attack, you kind of have to delay an extra second. The ball has to travel further before crossing the plane of the net.
14 kills for Mims. Good pass and a rip. Boy, it didn't sound like clean contact, but enough from McClure into the coffin corner. Third set point for the Cardinal. Washington State out of timeouts.
Again, another good decision from Gray. Usually she goes to Fitzmaurice in that specific rotation, but McClure gets the point.
Plummer back to the front row. Stanford's worked their way around. Up on top of the net, Joust, push back. Plummer time? Not yet. Plummer can't pull it out of the net, and we are tied at 27. The crowd getting into it.
Casey Shaneline getting up on the block and just kind of throws that one back down with her left hand. I would love to see Casey Shaneline go up and be aggressive on some of those out-of-system plays because she's so tall. She's already 6'5". She needs to make sure she's getting her feet all the way in so she can start to apply some pressure.
Some of the tallest women in the conference in this match. Plummer, deep and out. Mims missed it.
That's when you just swipe the sweat off the top of your brow a little bit there.
Second set point for the Cougars to go up 2-0. Plummer's in that front row spot, left front. Go away from her. Washington State can't handle the backslide of Fitzmaurice. Now Fitzmaurice will step back to serve, so it's Alade back. They're tied at 28.
Nice job by Fitzmaurice. However, Mims getting a little undisciplined there in defense, shifted all the way in front of the right back defender.
Double quick, backslide is good. It is now the third set point for Washington State. This will be the 6th set point of the second stanza.
Again, a little bit of a changeup for Washington State. They put Nicole Rigoni into the match, another setter for Washington State. So now there have been 3 in this match.
Shane Line to Plummer. Deep tip, Shane Line all over it. Oh, Mims couldn't get a swing. Plummer blasts it. Dorigi is there. Plummer was way inside. Straight down.
Wow, oh my goodness, Catherine Plummer. You think that's a little out of frustration there?
Oh, you have not seen a harder hit in the conference all year.
Oh, that one might have left a dent.
Top play for sure. Nominate that one for 12 best here on the network. Oh, mass confusion for Washington State, but they get just enough of it. A 4th set point. We had 7 set points, all for Washington State in the first. Here's our 7th here in the second. 3 of them were for Stanford. Dorigi, what a match she's had so far. Just looking for that block. If you want a block right now if you're Washington State.
Oh, you do. And we mentioned it earlier, what a block does in terms of momentum and energy. It's one of the biggest things that you can do.
They have 7, but they cannot pick one up here late. Going all the way back around. Plummer is back in the back row once again. Gray tracks it down, and McClure puts it off the hands and out of bounds. So Stanford has reversed the flow again. Their 4th set point.
McClure staying so aggressive from the pin, and I want to see her continue to do that because it is helping Stanford so much in terms of getting those points when they need them.
It looks like anger at this point setting in. Stanford has not struggled like that this year. The backslide goes long. A missed connection ends a thrilling second set. Almost anticlimactic considering the straight down crushes we saw from both teams.
Yeah, it's just a little bit of a misconnection there. Ball set a little too far off the net. However, I was very impressed by Washington State bringing their efficiency up because it was down in the beginning of this set. And then Stanford just continuing to battle.
32-30, we're now joined by Jen Greeny, head coach of Washington State. Jen, it's 1-1, but what a bunch of fun this has been for your team.
Yeah, definitely. You know, we fought hard in that second set. You know, just got caught. We're out of subs, so, you know, people playing in different positions, but that's okay. I think that's what it's going to take to beat a very, very good Stanford team.
Coach, you mentioned you really wanted to bring the pressure from the service line. What do you see in terms of that pressure so far?
Yeah, especially in set 1, I thought it was definitely there. You know, they definitely passed better in set 2. So we also made some service errors in set 2. So just hoping to clean that up a little bit.
An outstanding match from your team so far. Good luck in the third.
Great, thanks you guys.
Jen Greeny and the Washington State Cougars tied at 1 apiece. We'll send you the intermission report. When you come back, we'll have more thrilling volleyball from Bohler. Competitive fire of the last part of the second set perhaps put that back in the Cardinal. The thing that Kevin Hambley said they lacked that willingness to fight at the start of this match.
Well, and they're definitely going to need to bring it, especially out of the game break. That's when you can either, one, take a breath and kind of sit back on your laurels, or you can get a little bit more pumped up and ready to go into that third set. So it's really a big question into what is this team's identity? Because for so long, they've been so good and so consistent. And this is the first time, that every team kind of has that struggle or a little bit of that slump throughout the season. And it's really great in terms of learning and really getting someone ready for the postseason. So this is a really big challenge for Stanford. How are they going to face this adversity?
And in years past, we've had this discussion about teams that are looking to go undefeated in conference or undefeated on the season. Do you want a loss? Do you want some struggle? Most coaches will tell you they don't mind a little bit of that right now. You don't want to hit it in the tournament. You want to hit it now, have your team get back on track, deal with that, and then enter the postseason.
Well, and I think it's also interesting to note that this is a Stanford team that won the national title last year, and they weren't the Pac-12 champions. They had some injuries. Inky Janaku kind of in and out at some points in the season, but, they had some losses on the year last year, and how much did that play into what their identity was going into that national championship game?
Stanford already off to a better start here in the third, 2-0. Who just joined us, Kevin Barnett, Cameron Irwin, Bohler Gymnasium, the site. We have split the first two. It was Washington State who came out firing in their white jerseys. Very nearly could have been up 2-0 entering the break. We went 32-30 in Stanford's favor in set number 2. Taylor Mims with the dig. She's played excellent in the back row as well as she has in the front with 14 kills. And now we'll have a double called on that set. Looked like it came out of the hands of Claire Martin.
That's always kind of a struggle when you have someone who's not used to taking the ball overhead, having to set that one.
A blast on the double quick. We've seen a lot of double quick from Washington State. Martin on the right, Mims out of the back row. Taylor Mims getting a lot of work from 10 feet. And that swing is exactly what ended our second set, except it was Washington State hitting it out.
So usually the Stanford team has such a good first ball side out, meaning the first opportunity they get, they usually are scoring the point. But one thing that they're also very good at are winning the extended rallies. And right now they're starting to blast some balls. Washington State continues to sit back and play some defense, but they've got to win on the last point.
Yeah, sitting back and getting blasted in the back row that time was Derigi. In a match she has had already at 14 digs. There's 44 total on the board for Washington State. Sharp cross court is not there.
And this is where you cannot start to compile errors, especially when you've already got a 4-point differential. Stanford is just going to keep exploiting that differential if you're not careful.
5-1, and this might be the point where Jen Greeny hates the 10-minute break. Double quick, kill once again, Leosh behind the setter.
Now that double quick, meaning there are two attackers coming in very quickly, running first tempo sets. That applies so much pressure to a block because you have to pay attention to both, and you almost have to commit block on both of them.
Speaking of blocking, there's another big one. Martin up there on the right side, keying this one.
Claire Martin doing a nice job finding that high line shot and really pressing that ball back into the court.
Washington State with the advantage now, 8 blocks. Derigi, another dig in the left back. And Mims rolled it, but play continues. Stanford celebrating. Felt like they didn't touch it, but eventually the ball called down.
And with that last block, Claire Martin actually passes Jen Greeny. She was in 5th place on the career records, but she now has passed Jen Greeny, her own coach, in block assists at Washington State.
Jen said she thought about sitting Claire just so her record could stay.
I had a teammate actually have that same milestone back when I was playing at Washington State, Marcelina Glab.
Stanford has come out a whole different team out of that 10-minute break. They lead 7-3 against Washington State.
Home of the Stanford Cardinal. You're watching Pac-12 Bay Area.
Every athlete has a personal best, a best round, a best time, a best game. Stanford athletes spend years training to perform at their best. And at Stanford Medicine, we spend our time making sure everyone has that opportunity. From research and education to care to preventing disease altogether. Our focus on precision health means that one day we can all achieve a personal best.
Tuesday, it's back-to-back Pac-12 men's basketball. First at 6, can Bobby Hurley's Devils send the Aztecs back to Cali in defeat? Then at 8, Eastern Washington and Stanford go head-to-head. Coverage begins at 6 on Pac-12 Network.
This Pac-12 women's volleyball match is presented by Tachikara. We've got the ball, you bring the game. Kevin Barnett alongside Cameron Irwin, 7-3 Stanford. That Cougar look familiar?
Just slightly. That's the one you always have to walk by when you go to class, walking up every single hill on the Palouse.
You will get a between class and gym workout.
Oh yeah, they used to, what did they call them? Cougar calves, I think is what it was, just because you were constantly having to walk up there were so many hills in Pullman. Everything was made up of a hill. Really great calves in Pullman. Quote me on that.
This just in, you learned something new on our broadcast here tonight. Well, a hill to climb for Washington State here in the third. Service errors would help. First of the third set from Stanford. That's 9 now. (7-4) Stanford Cardinal in a far different space than they have been in either of the previous 2 sets. First set was a complete blowout by Washington State. From moment 1, it was 14-4 to begin that set. Second set was tight all the way up till it was 22-20. Stanford with the lead. Washington State reversed that. We went through 8 set points before Stanford finally closed it out 32-30.
It's important to note that Washington State in that last set ran out of some subs, so you saw a little bit of a different lineup. Now, what's also interesting is that Nicole Rigoni, who was one of those insertions into the lineup, is back into the lineup early in this set. So whether that's something to do with subs later on or just a little bit of a different flow is kind of the question.
Yeah, Rigoni, a setter. Transfer from Eastern Washington University, who actually was in for spring practice with the Cougs. Deep corner, Mims with the kill. I like Taylor Mims when she's aggressive. It's the off-speed stuff that's been kind of biting her.
And the nice set all the way over. And Rigoni getting a nice little dig off of Stanford.
Another top shelf bump set, and then the cut inside. And a reach from Shane Line.
Another dig from Rigoni. This is something that Rigoni brings to the game. She is a very defensive setter. She was one of the starting setters last year when this team made the NCAA tournament.
Casey Shane Line, a video production major, she might just want to cut that one into her highlight reel. Stanford all over it. Fitzmaurice reading it like a book.
Interesting choice to go to Tusa in the middle, especially when you've got McClure one-on-one as a blocker on the other side against one of your very talented middle attackers, especially on a perfect pass.
Yeah, Fitzmaurice goes 6'6", another one of those tall Stanford front line. Here's Fitzmaurice on offense, throws it in the block. Double quick pulled out. Net violation.
McClure just continuing to bring the pressure on the out-of-system play. I'm really impressed by her, especially in this match. Her ability to see the block in front of her, and she's starting to find points when her team needs them.
And you wanted more pop from her. She's been wailing on the ball with everything she has.
Yeah, she's already hitting 350 on the night. So far, that's a really high percentage for her.
Antoine Dillon picks up a kill. She has one. Stab after the ball. Karam through the block. This time down the line, skips out of bounds.
Jocelyn Urias, after she serves, having to play some defense. Nice job. I love that set from Jenna Gray, forcing Fitzmaurice all the way to the pin. It's just opening things up way more on that right side than kind of dropping that set in. That was something that they got blocked a lot on against Washington, is that inside slide ball.
Stanford fails to capitalize on that opportunity. Could have extended the lead to 6. Instead, we're at 4. 12-8. Set number 3, tied at 1 set apiece. Bohler Gymnasium, one of the smaller venues in the Pac-12, an intimate setting indeed. Tough place to play, long trip for the opponents who are doing that Seattle to Pullman swing. Plummer, deep corner is dug. Shaneline, not sure where she was setting that one. Terrific look from the end line. Now you're watching like a volleyball coach.
Yeah, and you're taking a look at that rotation for Stanford. Again, spreading it out, and you can see Ella Lejos going to the slide because Fitzmaurice has been so dominant on that slide, really opening things up for Catherine Plummer.
Bad pass, and the Stanford block fails to capitalize once again. That ball sneaking just inside the block. Oh, this is a bad sign. Catherine Plummer on the ground.
No, that's Casey Shaneline of Washington State.
Oh, pardon me.
It's hard to tell.
I was looking for the 2, but you're right, the right color. Shaneline down, and remember Shaneline injured earlier this year in a collision with a player underneath the net.
Early in preseason.
That left foot twitching.
And you're going to see it there on the left-hand side.
Her leg bent awkwardly underneath her. And what a blow to Washington State. Casey Shaneline, been through so much, the senior, not putting any weight on that left foot.
That is a huge, huge loss for Washington State.
So Jen Greeny now forced to go further into her bench. They've had to play without Shaneline at an earlier point this season.
But it was important to note that they had McKenna Woodford at the time, and McKenna is still out with an injury.
And in comes Olivia Cole to serve. So a terrible break for Washington State, who's been playing so well in this match. But they pick up a block immediately. It's Mims tucked in from that left front position. Casey Shaneline leaves with 5 kills, a couple of digs and a block.
And right now, Washington State, Casey Shaneline would have rotated out into the back court. So right now, they're pretty much still in their normal rotation.
Cole misses the second. It'll be interesting to see who comes in. Savannah Smith could be an option. Freshman outside hitter.
Savannah Smith had come in early in the season, play some of that right side.
Overpass put away. Boy, Catherine Plummer really likes those overpasses. Those are tasty.
Catherine Plummer and just about every other attacker in the world.
Yeah, but that's the second one she's hit straight down.
Yeah, no, I mean, she hits them better than most, that's for sure. She hits them about the 1 foot line.
Mims cross court finally gets the super sharp one.
And I am just waiting for her to turn one down the line because she's finding the cross court and you see it just trickle off the net there. Stanford doing a nice job of blocking her angle, so forcing her into that hard line or the sharp angle.
Stanford holding steady in this third set. Plummer gets a lucky bounce, nobody home underneath the block for the Cougars.
And I think if you were to, ask Stanford right now, how are you feeling about your play? There's a 5-point differential. However, I don't think they're feeling too comfortable right now. I think they still need to really get into more of an offensive rhythm and flow, start to get a few more blocks and conversions in transition.
We talked this week about the doldrums of the season. Beth Lanier over at Utah felt like her team was just kind of coming out of that. Nick Haley's been struggling with a bit of that malaise at times on his team as well. You hear it from coaches all the time. Maybe, as you said earlier, Stanford has hit it just a little later under Kevin Hambly.
And the real question is how quick can they get out of it? Because they've got some tough matches coming up too. UCLA and USC next up.
Vince puts it into the ceiling, then puts it over. Double quick, so Washington State, who was already pretty creative with Mims and her middle experience, may have to be even more creative. Look at the 1-3.
1-3, and then you also got the right side attack. I mean, they're going to just try everything they can to move these attackers around, get open looks at the net.
Hence cuts off Plummer. Really trying to take some of the pressure off number 2. Blocked straight back is Cameron Antoine Dillon.
Cameron Antoine Dillon, important to note, she's moving now. She played some middle earlier in this match, and now she's on the right side. So again, we said it early on, this Washington State team really moves their attackers around. It's hard to kind of get a feel for exactly what they're going to do.
Deep corner is good for Stanford, and they are seizing control of this third, 18-13, back to their lead of 5.
And Jen Greeny calling a timeout. She's definitely going to need to talk to her team, figure out what they're going to do, especially now with Shane Line out. Who's going to kind of fill that void moving forward?
Yeah, another challenge for Jen Greeny, but she is not unfamiliar. The Cougs are back from the pet cemetery. You mentioned what Jen Greeny has done with this program. The year was BG before Greeny. They were 0-18 that year. The team GPA was 1.96. They had players getting arrested. They had people flunking out. It was a terrible situation. But they've been an NCAA tournament team multiple times now under the Greeny administration, and just one semester below 3.0 as a team in the classroom. Look at the steady improvement that they have had throughout.
And Kevin, I was in those years, and man, it took a lot of work, and it's so neat to be able to see this program move to where it is now, and especially that last year, making it back to the NCAA tournament. Put so many smiles on so many people's faces, especially, and I'm speaking to it right now. I've got teammates texting me right now, just kind of watching the game back and forth, really enjoying watching this team battle it out because they put in so much work, especially in those 14, 15, 16 years. And a lot of times you're not getting the wins, but you are starting to build that foundation, and the academics too. I mean, that really, really improved.
All Pac-10 back in 1997. Jen Greeny. Look at that. 7 of the 11 appearances have involved Jen Greeny in one role or another. Last year, they went 22-12 with a veteran team. Defeated Marquette in round 1, would lose to Wisconsin 3-0. A high-quality Wisconsin team. And that was also held in Wisconsin, advantage for them. This year has been more of a struggle. A much less veteran squad. Kyra Holt, Haley Bethune, Tanny Stevens, Haley McDonald, all gone. We mentioned the injuries early to Shane Line and now in this match, as well as McKenna Woodford. The Washington State Soldiers on here, trailing by 5 in the third.
And I love the reaction there by Morgan Hintz. She didn't get the dig, and she takes her hand and slaps it on the ground. Now, I was somewhat known to do that as well, and you have a slight tendency to break some blood vessels when you do that, so be careful, Morgan Hintz. However, that is how competitive that kid is, and I absolutely love it. I've gotten a chance to, get in the gym and watch them go to work, and she refuses to let any ball go untouched And head coach Kevin Hambley even said her favorite drill is digging balls on an open net, which means she has Catherine Plummer hitting at her without a single blocker in front, and she absolutely eats it up. She loves it.
That's putting your helmet on, digging in. How about the block right now, back-to-back from Washington State? Earning points quickly, yeah. Scratching the head, how do you get past this wall of cats?
And the jump from Cameron Antoine Dillon to get over there. Freshman stepping in.
Bad pass from Plummer once again. Opportunity, Cougs. Oh, touched on its way out of bounds. I think that was Antoine Dillon with the left hand.
And then you've got Savannah Smith entering the game, playing some left side now, filling in for Shane Line.
Hens was all over that shot. Plummer blasts it out of the pipe. Net violation saves that one, which looked like it was wide left, but it will go in the book as a kill for Megan McClure.
McClure maintaining her aggressiveness, and I know I've said it 4 or 5 times already, but she continues to do it, and I'm so impressed by her. That time she's going up, swinging hard down the line, and a lot of times when the ball's soaring out of bounds like that, it's actually because they're aiming for high hands.
McClure again on the left, and I wondered if McClure wasn't hitting kind of that freshman ceiling, because right now, going on tonight, are the CIF titles. They've been happening all day in California, the high school championships, the end of the season. Here she's been involved in this next level, the stress of play, and we're not done with Pac-12 play yet. Never mind the NCAA playoffs that go deep into the middle of December.
Well, and I spoke to Kevin Hambley earlier this season about McClure. I said, you know, how is she doing? She's a freshman stepping in. She's a pass attacker, which means she has serve-receive responsibilities as well as attacking against some really tough blocks in the Pac-12. And he said, well, at first she was just trying to survive, but now she's kind of getting over that hump. And that was about 2 to 3 weeks ago. She's getting over that hump, and she's starting to get more aggressive. And we really just want her focusing on her attacking and kind of shifting out of some of those serve receives just to make sure she's really focused and getting some good solid swings up at the net.
Good solid third set performance from Stanford. 24-16, they have the lead. Set point number 1 for the Cardinal. Sydney Wilson into serve. And a rotation violation ends set 3. We've had a couple of anticlimactic finishes to our last couple of sets. Stanford, a renewed team out of the break. Can they close it in 4?
Saturday, Arizona State meets Oregon State in Corvallis. Then get ready for another matchup from the Conference of Champions. Coverage begins at 11 with the pregame show.
Sunday. It's known for being one of the toughest sports in the world, and the best of the West are ready to give it everything they've got. Can Russell Webb and the Bears stay golden? The Pac-12 Rugby Sevens Championship. Live coverage begins Sunday at 10 on Pac-12 Network.
Team chemistry. It's not something you're given, but something you earn. Not a feeling that appears overnight, but a bond forged over time. In the classroom and on the field, on the court and behind the scenes, on campus and in the community. Practice executed perfectly, over and over and over again, until victory happens. These are the elements of excellence. Pac-12, the Conference of Champions.
Sunday, hoop season is upon us. First at 1, the Golden Bears get ready to say nay to the Mustangs. Then at 3, Alonzo Trier and the Wildcats prep for a dogfight when Arizona plays host to UMBC. And at 5, can the Huskies send the Eagles into extinction? Then finish off the day with a trip to the farm, where the trees stick to their roots when they take on the Tigers. Pac-12 men's basketball, presented by ZipRecruiter. Coverage begins Sunday at 1 on Pac-12 Network.
No timeouts.
No timeouts.
Touchdown!
No huddles.
No huddles.
Has a first down!
Just non-stop game action.
Yes! Cut down into one fast and furious hour.
And he is gone.
from online
He just muscles it.
to the sideline.
There's the shot.
Football in 60 is the ideal football fix for the busy Pac-12 fan.
Football in 60, presented by Valvoline. New episodes debut every Sunday night.
Only on Pac-12 Network.
You're watching Pac-12 Bay Area.
We had 2 sets of thrilling volleyball and top shelf atmosphere inside Bohler Gymnasium. The third, though, a complete change. Casey Shainline goes down with a nasty injury. She has not returned to this match. And Washington State goes down in the third pretty handily, but not because of the effort of Taylor Mims.
Yeah, Taylor has just absolutely gone off with 18 kills. And I think you take a look, top performer, Catherine Plummer for Stanford, and you're used to seeing Catherine be the top performer. But one thing that's kind of a bit of a change up, though, she's got 13 kills and she's only hitting 119 on the night. She's used to being at about 350 on the night. So just, you know, she's got 8 errors. I don't remember the last time I've seen her with 8 errors.
Catherine Plummer. Pretty much a lock for Player of the Year.
Yeah, I mean, she is so good. Not only in her attacks from the outside, she'll move it around on the right side. And oh, that one sent us through the roof. Catherine Plummer really good on the overpass. And I've talked to Kevin Hambley about what makes her so special. And it's that, you know, she's able to play that chess game and she sees everything one step in advance. She's able to really see the court from such a mature level, seeing what's open and moving the ball around and knowing what the block's going to do before it even makes an adjustment.
Plummer leading the Pac-12 in points per set. Questions have been around, are you using her too much? Heard that discussion from several different places. If I'm Kevin Hambley, more importantly, if I'm Catherine Plummer, I don't feel like it.
No.
Set me more, please.
I was going to say the same thing. I mean,
that's the athlete.
As long as her health is still very good, and I mean, she looks like she's just absolutely still ripping at the ball every single time. I mean, until there's something different. And yeah, Catherine takes numerous swings, but they still do have Fitzmaurice, who puts the ball away at an incredibly high rate. Alade puts the ball away. They have some of the highest hitting efficiencies in the Pac-12. And then Lutz, again, is the same thing. Now, you take into account, well, their efficiencies are also very high because Plummer takes up so much of the blocking priority from other teams.
Here Plummer gets in a perfect situation and sends it into the rafters. Plummer's 14th kill. You mentioned Fitzmaurice, who has 12. McClure has 10, but it's taken 44 swings for Catherine Plummer to get those 14 kills. Those other 2 players I mentioned, Fitzmaurice and McClure, have taken 22 and 24 swings.
Well, and that's what's very interesting is usually McClure has a few fewer swings than Moretta Lutz. Moretta is usually the one that's getting the ball the second most on the team, on the right side. They really like to try and find her. And then it's McClure. But tonight, it's been all about McClure. She's done some really good work, still hitting 333 on the night, taking 24 swings, 10 kills. I mean, this is what
Smith gets rejected.
And that's what you want from McClure, especially at the end when you're getting close to that postseason.
Washington State could be the first team to run a triple quick. They're running the double quick on the regular right now with the set over as well.
And finding the court yet again, Ashley Brown. That's what she's so good at, finding the court on the backside, out of the back row.
Transfer out of University of Oklahoma, where she played sparingly last season. Another good touch from the Cougar block. Not Moretta Lutz's favorite position out there on the left, having the ball off the net. So it's Washington State with the early lead, 3-2.
Kevin Hambley telling his team to stack in this rotation, so shifting over their outside. There's going to be 3 attackers, and you'll see them all there. They kind of have to separate and split up.
Oh, Mims missed an opportunity there to her right.
And then Plummer on her way to the backcourt to serve. But again, McClure has done some good work for the Stanford team.
Stanford block in the right spot, but not over the net.
Wow, and Jocelyn Urias, I mean, she had a double block in front of her. She somehow manages to get up quick enough and hit fast enough to be able to get it before the Stanford block had that formed block over the top of the net.
Urias second in production, 7 kills. Deep corner, good once again.
And that's the spot Catherine Plummer was also finding a lot of success in, that deep left back corner. McClure going high, and a lot of the time that's because you're going high over the top of the block. You try and find the angle.
Better sweep for Bugs in our broadcast position, because you were mentioning the pop that McClure needed, and she has brought it all night. Oh, that ball ping-ponged over. Word on the street that Cameron Irwin is an excellent ping-pong player.
You got to bring that one out right now, Kevin.
Does that come over from your volleyball skills, or is this some sort of separate skill category you've developed?
You know, I like to think it correlates with reaction time a little bit.
Okay, I'll be looking forward to your Forrest Gump type video posted later on Twitter.
It's already out there.
Overpass. Mims tries that corner, has been successful earlier, not this time.
And just barely missing in the deep spot.
And will we have a challenge is the question. Jen Greeny still has some. It's 5-all.
And that's really the only way Mims has so far attacked down the line, is that high, deep kind of lob shot to the back corner. I still want to see her go up and try and take a swing down that direction.
That ball crawling outside the antenna, setting error. Point Cardinal.
Well, and that could be the case because they're trying to get the ball all the way to the pin to try and get Taylor that line shot. Sometimes when you're trying to finish, to be able to have a hit or hit line, you've got to have the last 3 feet of the ball kind of hang and finish through the zone.
That one a little better opportunity. Result is a Cougars point.
Jocelyn Urias, again, she's one of the best servers for this Washington State team, but that's 3 misses so far for her, and they're all either wide or long, so she's being aggressive, but she's got to take a little off, and she can't be giving away points like that.
McClure down to the back row, Plummer back up in the front. Wide left, no touch, no net. 8-6.
And the errors just continue to kind of pile up for Washington State. Early on, they weren't making these hitting errors, and they were getting a lot of those quick reaction plays and extending those rallies. And right now, they're losing points on their own errors.
Well, it feels like some of the energy has gone away too that we saw throughout the first and second. Plummer with quick reactions gets on the ball, and you see the kind of heat she can generate in such a small amount of approach space.
Yeah, and you know, I'm sitting here thinking, man, I would not want to be one of the blockers on the other side of that attack, because there are some attackers, they just hit such a heavy ball and you pull down your hands and you're trying to not show it on your face, but man, Catherine Plummer just brings the absolute heat.
Another error for Washington State, as Cameron just mentioned. Those have started to creep in here in the fourth, late in the third as well. The loss of Casey Shainline certainly a factor, going down with her left leg folded under her during the last set.
Rigoni, that's a really nice set, high and right inside the antenna, but a big double block in front of Antoine Dillon. Stanford really increasing just their overall play, making fewer errors from the service line, and also kind of changing up what they're doing in serve receive. They're making sure they're getting those feet to the ball and early platform.
Challenge for a net touch called for by Jen Greeny.
And it looks like You know, it looks very close. However, I don't see the net move, and almost always you're going to kind of see a little bit of a shift in the net there. We're going to take another look here.
Our R2 Ron Pelham responsible for this call in live action as well as the review.
And here's another look. I mean, Catherine Plummer really pressing those hands down, but I'm not seeing the net move.
Either way, Washington State gets an effective timeout out of this. Our challenges have gone multiple minutes each time.
Here's another look. That one's pretty hard. You've got the middle attacker also going up, kind of getting away.
What's your opinion on the challenge system?
I like the challenge system. I mean, I think it's still definitely early on, and it's going to have a little bit of growing pains. You know, we're not quite to the Hawkeye status that you see in professional volleyball. However, you know, I like it. I think it's bringing back points that originally were lost that really have the difference in those close matches. Now it also has a different effect at times, like an extended timeout right now, and definitely can change momentum. And here's it. This is a look that's probably the best you're going to get to see. It's hard when they're all the way on the other side of the court to be able to kind of pick up that net touch. And it looks like we've got a decision. And they're going to say it's a touch. Ball and point to Washington State. Jen Greeny, a little bit of a smirk on that one. She's pretty excited that she finally earned one of those challenge points.
9-7, big swing.
That's a huge shift.
And Plummer gets a kill that maybe she shouldn't have, just kind of slapping one to the middle back.
Yeah, so kind of that slapping one to the middle back, you're right, but a little bit still to that left back corner, kind of going high off of the top of the block. I would love to see Washington State make the shift, make the adjustment, force her to have to go a different direction, keep your block the same, but kind of hang out for 1/2 of a second and then take one step to your left, see if you can pick up an extra touch there.
Catherine Plummer brings a difficult set of skills to deal with at the net. Not only the heat that you've seen throughout, be it an overpass or a quick swing, but also a whole host of beach skills. An outstanding beach player. So location and control at the point of impact. Also things that she can do.
Well, and one of the biggest things in volleyball is the setter-hitter connection.
And there's one right there.
Yeah, and you're going to see it.
Resulting in the heater.
Well, and that's the setter-hitter connection, because guess who's her beach partner for Stanford? It's Jenna Gray, her setter. So they're getting extra reps. You know, yeah, they're running a different ball, but they're still getting the flow and the feel for each other. So, and I got a chance to call a couple of their beach matches, and they are so fun to get to watch, interact, and kind of build off of one another. And Jenna Gray is actually the 3-sport athlete at Stanford. Also throwing a little javelin for the Stanford track and field team.
Going a little Liz McMahon. So go back to the University of Oregon. Look at that inside move from Claire Martin, former middle.
Yeah, great drop of the inside hand by Claire Martin to seal up that seam.
Another good touch to close it to 1. There it is from Mims out of the back row. Boy, that would be a recipe for success here in the 4th. Soft touch and find Mims. 21 kills for Taylor Mims.
I'm a big fan of the back row attack, especially if you can increase the tempo. Get a little bit more towards that, what we call a BIC tempo. And I think Taylor could be very effective off of that just because she used to be a middle attacker.
Beat shot, cut. Right on cue from number 2.
Oh, what a beautiful cut. You're absolutely right. I mean, you see the side spin on the ball. That's dropping the ball cross court.
Mims finds nobody home in the middle back.
And see, this is also in part because Stanford has a bit of a rotation defense here, which means they're leaving their setter up a little bit closer to the 10-foot line. 2 defenders kind of covering the back court. And when you split, you're kind of splitting, you're leaving a seam right down the middle of the court.
McClure detonates on the overpass. Whatever Kevin Hambley's doing in the overpass part of the game, it is dead on.
Those are some of my absolute favorite plays. And McClure looking a little like Catherine Plummer there. She said, all right, teammate, you've got a few too many, it's my turn.
The lefty with the kill, Savannah Smith. So Smith steps in, called upon. Played in just over 30 sets this year, was actually hitting in negative territory for all those opportunities, but it's tough when you don't have extended regular play, when you're just kind of popping in here and there.
Well, and it's important to note about this Washington State team, they had 6 new players, either new to the floor or in new positions. That was their original starting lineup. So now with McKenna Woodford not being able to play in this game and has been out for a few matches, and then also with Casey Shainline going down and not returning thus far into this match, I mean, that's an additional 2 starting student athletes that you now do not have.
Well, for Washington State, the story was a consistent lineup last year. 6 players played nearly all the sets. This year it's been a shuffle, including in this match, but they're down just 3 in the 4th.
Block, Hungana.
We try to focus on each day, gauge your performance by whether it's the best of your ability.
We need a great day of preparation.
Whatever we do, we approach it with a mindset like we want something out of it.
We are who we are. We expect to get better each and every week.
At the end of the day, you just got to do your job.
The route is not about celebration. The rise is not about reaching the top. We're here to captivate, to fascinate,
Coast to coast.
to dominate. Our physics are physical. Our gravity has gravitas. So follow the bouncing ball, because these West Coast routes will rise above them all. Watch on Pac-12 networks.
Pac-12 volleyball presented by Tachikara. Stanford carries the lead here in the 4th and 2-1 overall. Washington State has been in the capable right hand of Taylor Mims, who has 22 kills, hitting just under 200 right now, but she's had a lot of diverse opportunities.
She has, and you've mentioned the double quick. They're going to run her inside, outside, and as fast as they possibly can. The former middle loves to go quick, and she finds the quick seam in between the Stanford block, whether it's on the outside or in the middle.
25 kills are her career high against Oregon State earlier this year, but now right now she's added in 12 digs and 4 blocks. A complete performance from number 10, who hits another there. Her career high looks like it's going down. That's 23 already.
What I'm impressed with, yeah, she just got the kill, but Morgan Hintz, she literally just stood in the middle of the court, went hips up, chest up, and literally pretty much asked Taylor Mims to hit the ball straight at her.
That's your favorite drill.
I love it. I love how aggressive Morgan Hintz is in her defense.
For the Stanford offense, Catherine Plummer, 19 kills. Megan McClure, 12. Fitzmaurice has 12 and is hitting .478.
They got to find a little bit more of her.
Well, the real question is Plummer will get another swing here. That ball finds the floor. Has been the play of the opposite position of Moretta Lutz, who has 32 swings and is in negative territory with just 5 kills.
And it looks like Jen Greeny is going to possibly challenge.
There it is, challenge that the ball was up.
And this is her last challenge available on the night.
Well, they don't roll forward. It's not like the old cell phone minutes.
No,
you can't just build up to where you have 15 challenges in your 5th match.
That's looking pretty up to me
Yeah, that looks quite up.
with the pancake.
When everybody on the court yells up, look at everybody's complaining, every one of them. It might be one person if it's a questionable play. So here you would have a replay because that ball in theory would still be in play.
And here's a shot. Oh, that's close.
From that look, it looks like it might hit the ground just on inside the right thumb of libero Alexis Durigi.
That is awfully close to tell. Ooh.
But remember, it was called down.
Yeah.
Oh, nice zoom.
I love the zoom. It looks down, but it's hard to tell if it hit the right side.
I don't know. That's excellent work by Gary Milkus and our crew next door, along with Dennis Kirkpatrick.
That's looking kind of down to me too.
Jeff Backerman coming up, technical director, with that zoom in. That was excellent. The call stands.
Wow.
Ball on the floor. It was a zoom that did it.
Yeah.
17-13. And a block to follow, 18-13.
And you can hear Alexis Durigi yelling to Taylor Mims, high line, you have the high line. But Mims still going with a cross-court angle. And Durigi's just trying to open things up and let her know what's available.
But if you can't hit it as a hitter, that's why teams leave it open.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting, because Mims was a middle attacker. She has the cross-body shot, and I've seen her do it out of the middle. You know, crossed her shoulder to her left side, back to the right back corner.
Right, but the pin hitting is more of a rotational move to pull that ball down the line. It's not an arm move.
For some, Carly Truman from Utah has one of the most incredible cross-body. She keeps her shoulders completely facing the cross court. Yeah, and she jumps 10-7, but so does Taylor Mims, and touches 10-7, but so does Taylor Mims. She can get up and crack a ball. And I've seen it, and I'll pull out some film and show you, because it is very impressive. Carly Truman has the ability to do that. Now, there are some attackers on the pin that turn their shoulders all the way back around. I actually would prefer that. I think it's a little
like
healthier.
she tried to go line there, and you saw Plummer turn it line immediately the other way.
Yeah.
Stanford digs it out. Plummer going for that pineapple corner. Net violation, and the Cougars are hanging tough here in the fourth. They're within striking distance. What is it that they need? What is it that they're capable of doing, you think, that can blitz them some points right now?
I think it starts with their block. Now, it's also important to note Taylor Mims now in the backcourt. She's had a few kills out of the backcourt and of late, but they have to have some production. And Claire Martin, who just took a swing, is more of a blocking right side than super offensive. So this is a kind of a tough rotation with Savannah Smith also on the outside.
Yeah, Martin with just 2 kills. It has not been the night of the opposites. It's been the outsides that have carried it. 23 kills for Mims, 20 kills for Catherine Plummer. 20-15, the lead, and it's Jenna Gray at the line. The top servers for Stanford. It's that hybrid. That was more of a float than a hybrid. Backslide is good. Double quick once again. Leosh will go to the sidelines. Stanford looks like they're a little bit on cruise control here in the fourth. Looking like the confident team that we've seen so much of this season. (13) service errors on the night. Still a lot of work to do. Remember, they had 14 service errors in 4 sets against Washington, but they gave up 10 aces. Tonight they've only given up 2.
Stanford has a tough schedule, especially right now. They're kind of in a mix of 6 games in 13 days. Now, this is game 4 of those 13 days, so they've got a few more to go. 15th and 16th are their next games, and those are going to be back-to-back in this next week. So this is a really tough stretch for Stanford.
That one off the head of one of the blockers. Looks like it might have caught Loretta Lutz on top of the head. Yeah, you mentioned their upcoming schedule. They host USC and UCLA. That's Wednesday and Thursday. They will finish by hosting Utah, and they will go to Cal on either side of Thanksgiving with those last two matches. Alade.
That is something we haven't seen a ton of tonight. However, we have seen it throughout the season because she is so good on that quick tempo ball. And what I'm so impressed with by her is her ability to turn the ball, not only with her arm, but also her wrist action. You know, she really finds the side of the ball and turns it where she wants to go.
Alade, 8 kills. Oh, Mims was there way early. Lutz sent back, covered, scramble play. Freshman lefty misses it.
And a couple wild digs from both sides of the court. Check out the pickup from Taylor Mims with the extended right hand. And just before that, Morgan Hens also really nice job on the coverage, giving her team another opportunity.
Washington State perhaps feeling it slip away. Little soccer skill action there from McClure, who did not expect it coming off the block.
And yet again, Morgan Hens just sliding in there. Nice job by Washington State's block to get in front of that attack. But again, this Stanford team has just continued to battle and fight, even with, they probably aren't still feeling great about their play right now. But what's impressive is that even though they're probably not feeling like that, they still are continuing to fight and battle and find a way to score some points.
Overpass one for Taylor Mims. So she ties her career high with that one. That's 25. But Mims would like to see 5 more points on the scoreboard for her team. Beautiful dig in the back row. That was Smith. Urigi, can they put it away? Mims. Lutz dunks it into the bottom of the tape.
And Mims not only bringing the pressure from her attack, but a couple back-to-back blocks for Mims.
And the first timeout of this set, now called by Stanford.
And just a little bit of a dunk play there by Loretta Lutz.
A couple weeks ago, the NCAA Selection Committee made their one and only appearance before the weekend after Thanksgiving, when they will select the field of 64. This is how they rank the top 10 teams. And remember, if you are a number 1 through 4 seed and you make it far enough, you will host a regional. What do you think about the order of this, or the group and teams that are in it?
You know, I think it's interesting to know. You have Stanford, who in the coaches poll is sitting at that number 2 spot. Now they've lost to Washington, a very good team who you see sitting at 8. However, you know, the recent play of Stanford just from Washington now, do I think it's the end of the world? By no means. I think they're still right up there in that number 4, if not maybe 3 or 2. The only team that they had lost to previously, to other than Washington, was that number 1 Penn State team. I believe they belong there. But Stanford, you know, I think they're going to end up hosting one of those regionals.
That list released to generate interest, as it has been growing nationwide for the sport of women's volleyball. Pac-12 Network bringing you an excellent slate of coverage in the Conference of Champions, the toughest RPI conference in the nation. Although a big argument to be made that the top part of the Big Ten is perhaps better than the top half of the Pac-12. Saw 3 teams there from the Big Ten in the top 3. Stanford trying to close out Washington State. And it's McClure, who's had a wonderful evening, getting her 13th kill, hitting over 300.
Well, and that's just awesome for this Stanford team because you have some hitters that have some unusual numbers, but for McClure to kind of step up and fill the void of what some of those student athletes usually bring to the table is just big time.
Match point, Plummer. That'll do it. Stanford struggled early with Washington State, but late they look more like the dominant team we've seen most of this season, Cameron Irwin.
Yeah, 100%. And later on in that set, you're seeing way more of an offensive rhythm, much better in terms of their passing and serve receive, getting their middles some opportunities, a lot of late, getting a couple good swings. Fitzmaurice had a really solid night, also hitting 423. But I think for me, it's really McClure stepping up and really creating some sort of energy and offensive aggressiveness for Stanford.
Washington State showed well. Had an opportunity to pick off the #1 team in the conference. They came close. They lose in 4 sets. The second one was a thriller going into 32-30. For my partner Cameron Irwin and our entire Pac-12 Network crew, thanks for enjoying some volleyball with us. Congratulations to the Cardinal.